Hello, gorgeous, beautiful, brassy podcast people. I hope this episode finds you well. I'm your host, Jen Eads, and you found your way to that magical arena where we shift the spotlight away from the artist to shine it on some of the brassiest broads in the music industry. The women working behind the curtains, the mixing boards, and the technology that impact the music we listen to daily. And honey, this ain't their first time at the rodeo. We talk about why they do what they do, what they've learned along the way, and some of their brassiest moments. My guest today is Stacey Messier. Stacey's blog page states that she's a sophisticated lady that happens to swear a lot. So if you have an aversion to swear words, or mom, if you're listening to this with my niece anywhere near in the room, consider yourself warned. Stacey is a mentoring, marketing, and entrepreneurial renaissance woman. She's a creative strategist at Isotope and an avid runner, designer, vocalist, and writer. I have a link to her blog page in the show notes, and I promise you will be thoroughly entertained when you check that out. So let's jump right into my conversation with Stacey. When do you remember first becoming aware of music or sound?
Ooh, I feel like this is so cliche, but Disney was probably the first time I really experienced it as a kid. But the thing that really sticks out into my mind was falling in love with a country singer by the name of Katie Oslin.
Love her.
At the ripe age of probably 5 or 6. And I would be putting together puzzles with my mom in the living room, and we would be rocking out Katie Oslin.
That's fantastic. So what is it about Katie Oslin that resonates with a 5 or 6-year-old?
That's a really great question. Obviously her songwriting skills are unparalleled because 5-year-old me was very drawn.
Yes.
She was my first concert as well.
Really?
They were catchy. There was a lot of space. There was some very cool harmony action happening. I'm looking at it now.
Right.
But 5-year-old me just really liked how upbeat and that it was somewhere in between the classic rock that my folks were listening to and the 80s pop that was happening at the time. So it was right in the middle, and I could just sort of sit in my little couch in my living room and groove out.
I love it. What Disney songs captured your attention?
Oh, I was a Little Mermaid girl all the way.
Nice.
I want to say even farther back though, like Sleeping Beauty. What the hell was the song? Not Someday I'll Find My Prince. The one that she sings in the forest. Is that Sleeping Beauty? That might be Cinderella. Oh, I get them all mixed up. But there are those moments where, the protagonist is trying to find her way and she has this self-reflecting moment, and that, I don't know, I had that fascination with doing a solo at a very young age. That's for sure.
That's nice. Well, yeah, who doesn't love Disney when they're growing up? I still have, back in the day, we had records.
Yep.
Which I still have, which I'm really grateful that I have a record player again. But my mom held on to Robin Hood and Cinderella and all that stuff. So I'm like, great, now when the nieces and nephews come over, we can totally rock out.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so I totally get the Disney thing. So when you aren't rocking out to Disney and KT Oslin, you are a creative strategist at Isotope. Tell me what exactly that is.
I'm a part of essentially an entrepreneurial incubator at Isotope right now. So I'm the creative strategist for the brand Spire, which we will get into later, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm kind of a one-woman show in the marketing department for this brand. We have lots of pre-existing products that we have a full-fledged marketing staff that runs train on all day, every day. And they needed someone to step up to the plate in very much that entrepreneurial way of getting the elbow grease on and getting your hands dirty, and everything from making ad hoc videos to show the audio quality to developing business partnerships with other like-minded brands that our customers will enjoy. So I wear, the classic statement of 17 hats and do high-level strategy for the future as well as what's happening currently. And then I do a lot of frontline work, everything from social media to working with the agency that we've contracted out for press relations and strategizing with them. So it's very much all over the place.
That'll keep you busy.
Exactly. And I really love that kind of work, though. I had owned 2 companies in the past, one of which was a graphic and web design firm where we provided all kinds of stuff for different clients of all walks of life. I mean, everything from cigar companies to children's museums to healthcare. So the constant change and the chase of new opportunities and creating more of that bigger voice for a product that I believe in is really the crux of what I do as a creative strategist.
I love that. Tell us about Spire and why you love it.
So Spire is essentially a 4-track recorder that allows you to record, mix, and share. And what that means is, yes, it caps you at 4 lanes. That is all you have access to. But we only have the space dedicated to our lovely iPhones. So adding more tracks under that real estate seems silly. You have the ability to touch and drag with visualized mixing controls. There is an input monitor slider, which is probably one of my most favorite things because in my heyday, I played in a metal band, and that input monitor would have been hugely important to bring down the volume that's coming into the phone. Or later on, I had a jazz band where that input monitor should have been brought up. So there's controls for every musician's walk of life. And then there's also metronome, looping controls, and then you have the ability to push it off of your phone. This is my other favorite part of it, is that really low-level version of collaboration. I have the ability to work on a track with you by saying, okay, I just recorded this vocal idea. I'm going to text it to you. Oh, here's our practice from the previous night. I wanted to try out a new solo. Let me email this to you. Or you can airdrop it, you can Dropbox it, and you can throw it onto Google Drive.
Oh, I didn't know you could airdrop it too.
That's probably your fastest way to get it off of your phone. I will say you have to have a newer iPhone and a newer laptop.
That would be why I don't know about that.
Because my 2011 laptop doesn't like to airdrop from my newer phone.
Good to know.
Thanks, Apple. But for all you people out there that have shiny new devices, you can airdrop right away.
Love it. Well, and I mean, I actually use this, and I can say it truly does come in handy at rehearsal. One of the things that we actually use it for is I am horrible at trying to find harmony parts.
Gotcha.
But the other 2 gals in the trio are just freaks of nature about it. Like, we'll just run through it one time and they'll be like, oh yeah, I don't know. It always amazes me and makes me feel kind of bad, but whatever. God love them because they will help me. So we'll use it and, use those 3 tracks, and then I'll record them individually. They will record what my part is supposed to be. And then I can go back and rehearse with it and just drop them out.
Nice.
And I'm like,
very nice.
This is the best thing ever.
And I forgot to mention, really, I mean, the product's claim to fame is the audio quality. And this is where Isotope's bread and butter really comes in. And I'm sure you've noticed this, and a lot of people have noticed this since using Spire. It's got DSP running in the background that basically is a similar signal chain to our Ozone products. Mm-hmm. So you have a tiny little mastering engineer just running around in a hamster ball at all times in the background, making everything you sing or play into the phone sound incredible.
That's amazing. Well, and I've even recommended it to other podcasters.
Absolutely.
They're like, hey, I need to record something on the go. Like, just go get Spire because you will be so much happier. It's better than the voice recorder on your iPhone. So
absolutely. I've been telling a couple of other people, Andrew Appanov from the We Spin podcast,
mm-hmm.
He and I were talking about it. And while it doesn't have RX technology running in the background, that the signal chain that is happening does some really wonderful things to draw focus and add this beautiful stereo depth so that if you were on the conference room floor, like NAMM is coming up, in January, we're all going to be there and you're going to have this amazing opportunity to, I don't know, you're going to get to interview Stevie Wonder and ask him one question and then throw that into a podcast episode for next week, and your NAMM recap. You can do that with Spire and know that it's going to sound better than that voice recorder app that just comes with the phone.
Yeah, and you want Stevie to sound good.
Yes, that is for sure.
So with all these hats that you wear, what would you say is the most challenging part of your day or your job? And how do you manage that?
The context switching from high level to frontline, that is by far the hardest. The best way that I manage it is I try and be really aggressive with my scheduling and appreciate your, I guess what I would call just your brain space. Before, when I was a product design director, I was managing 4 product designers, and I would always encourage them to recognize and acknowledge the days that you could only afford to fold napkins. This is a really far-reaching metaphor. Here we go. So I was once a waitress, and you would have these days where, it was super slow, and so you would just kill time by folding napkins. Sometimes your brain can only do that thing. So I have days where I recognize that my brain can only edit video today. And that's kind of the only thing that I can do. I'm going to try and reschedule all of my high-level conversations for the following day. Or I recognize that I'm a morning person and I can tackle the more complex tasks in the morning before noon. So let me book as much of that stuff clustered together as possible and then context switch to a next block. But, you can only do what you can do.
Right.
So I have little routines where I come in the morning, I check all of our social media. I, check on our news feed that comes in from our agency, do a little bit of reading, and then it's on to whatever the day has served up to me.
That's a great way to plan it out. I never really thought about it in those terms, but the whole folding napkins, I'm like, oh, yeah, I get that.
Someday, it's like the really boring, mundane tasks, especially if they're repetitive. Some days it's just nice to let your brain idle and all of the things that come and blossom up from the dirt, so to speak. It keeps me from burning out. That's for sure.
Oh, definitely. You've got to have a way to calm that burnout down.
Definitely.
Now, I know that you also recently volunteered with Girls Rock Camp in Boston. How was that for you?
That was one of the most incredible weeks of my entire life. It competes with the fact that I also got married this year. So
oh my gosh.
Girls Rock Camp, you go to orientation on Sunday afternoon and you sit in this room and you hear veterans who've done it before say that, this is a life-changing experience for them. They had no idea that they could be so empowered as women and provide mentorship for girls, or they just didn't realize the person that they were until they stepped up to the plate to be a part of Girls Rock. And I'm sitting there in this orientation and I'm like, holy crap, this is really intense. It doesn't feel like it's a crock of bullshit.
Right.
It seems really real, and the energy in that room was super high and very palpable. So I was very curious, after leaving orientation, I was like, wow, I don't know what I'm in for, but apparently this is serious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it makes you grateful for what you have had growing up. It makes you realize what you haven't had, and then strategically, creatively provide for girls from ages 8 to 17, in addition to volunteers from age 18 to probably like 75.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Really, really unbelievable from an abstract psychological personal development standpoint. Absolutely an incredible place to volunteer your time.
We actually had 2 weeks of camp this year.
Nice.
Which was kind of crazy. But you get that big relief of like, oh, it's Thursday or Friday. Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God. It's like, yay, we get to do it again. And oh my God, we got to do it again.
I know what you mean. I was very active at Girl Scout camp growing up. So I would always do the 2-week sessions. And then when you were a counselor, you would move up through the ranks, but you start with the little kids and they would always have their 1 weeks, but they were back-to-back single week sessions. So I remember that feeling like, oh, thank God they're going home this weekend. Okay, get ready.
Yeah.
We're doing it again.
Exactly. What was your biggest takeaway from camp?
Oh, I'd say that there were 2 buckets. One was that these girls, ages 8 to 17, have the same exact problems that we do. I'm going to be 33 this year. I don't know how old you are, and I don't know how old your listeners are, but regardless of your age, whatever you're struggling with as a musician, if it's recording issues, if it's learning your instrument, if it's harmonies, like we were just talking about, whatever that struggle is real, even for 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I had no idea. Like, they are the same exact musicians that I was the first time I picked up guitar. And I still, to this day, I can't sight read for crap. So I do everything by ear. And so trying to work with these girls in order to hear where different parts come in. Meanwhile, they're just trying to play their instrument.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. I get it. And I can't believe that there's just no difference between their experience and mine. We are the same human experiencing it at the same level.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the other bucket is that we have to remember how amazing we are as people, as women. And I didn't really notice choices I had made or statements I would make or things that I would refrain from saying. That's really what it was. I think that stuck out to me. And when you volunteer at Girls Rock, you are keenly aware that you are absolutely a role model for these girls, and that everything you do, everything you say, every move you make is watched and will be either emulated or thought about being emulated. And it puts you in this position of trying to be the best person you could possibly be at all times, also while taking notice of those self-care moments. So trying to instill that in other girls and other volunteers. There's something really empowering about the give and take between what you're pushing out and you're working really hard to push it out to that crowd, to that group, as well as the moments where you're like, I just don't have the energy. I got to take a break. Can you help me with this thing? It's really stupid that I'm asking you to do this, but if you don't mind, I would really appreciate it. There are no qualms. Everyone was ready. Everyone was willing to drop what they were doing, jump in, help out, or just acknowledge and be like, don't worry, we got it. Take care. Awesome.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just an all-around great week. And what I love is, like, if you don't bring your A game every day, a 10-year-old has no qualms about calling you out. Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Yeah, you got to show up and you got to bring it.
What do you mean you're not coming to dance party?
Yeah, yeah. But you said we were going to, whatever that is. And you're like, oh, gosh.
Like,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah. Okay. Then that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. That was my week. But what I think my favorite thing was, because I was a guitar instructor. And so the day I brought in the pedals.
Oh.
And we turned on the distortion. And there's nothing better than saying, come on up, strap this guitar on, hit the distortion and the wah-wah pedal, and go to town.
Amazing.
That was probably one of my favorite days.
It's so liberating too. Like, because I remember feeling like, well, that's what my guitarist does. So I don't know how to. Do I just step on it? That's all I do, right? I just step.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how much we really like put up all these walls in front of ourselves and keep ourselves from doing something. But it's like, yeah, no, that's it. Just step on the pedal, strum. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it's magic. Now, can you share with our listeners the value of a good old-fashioned dance party in the morning?
Oh, especially in the morning, man. There is nothing better to refocus a group, to start fresh, to get everybody in the best mood that they could possibly be in, but then also to release. Sometimes, you had a bad morning. You came in, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Everybody lives in different houses with different challenges. it's one of the most important things is just to scream and sing along to those lyrics and jump around at top speed so that you have exorcised the demons.
Absolutely. That's exactly what that is. I never thought about it in those terms before, but yes, that's exactly what dance party is.
Every once in a while, the corporate form of that is everyone get up, raise your arms, take a deep breath and stretch,
Right. No.
I have brainstorming sessions where I put on really groovy music so that people don't feel so stiff. It's like brainstorm. Come on, let's break these barriers. We work for a music company.
Yeah, have a little fun with it.
It's all right.
Nice. So what superpower do you bring to the table? And is it something that you were born with or is it something that you learned?
I don't know if there's a word that sums it up, but I would say that my superpower is the ability to jump in the pool so long as you don't tell me what the temperature is. I don't care. I will learn later. Don't tell me it's 55 degrees. I will still jump in the pool.
Oh my gosh.
I adapt fast and I'm ready to try something out, put myself in the most awkward situation and figure out how to deal with it later.
Were you just born that way?
I think so. And I think, I got to give my parents a lot of credit because, they would always encourage me to do different things, to take different classes, to talk to different people. My mom would sit me down and be like, listen, you need to watch this movie. It's called Tootsie.
Fantastic.
You need to know how to speak to other people, especially other adults. And I was like, I don't know what I'm getting into. All right, this sounds good.
Oh, that's great.
I think half of it is definitely instilled. And I was that little girl that would just jump in the pool at the butt crack of dawn, regardless of how cold it was outside or how cold the water was. I just needed to get in the water. Let's just get in the water. We're getting in the water.
Because that was the mission.
That was the mission. If I needed to get out, I would get out.
Easy enough. I love it. So kind of going along with that then, what's the best advice that you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received was to share your secret recipe. No matter what the ingredients are, people will make it their way, but they will never be able to make it the way that you make it. So this was in the context of this conversation was that, we all have these big ideas. We have huge ideas. And sometimes people covet their ideas or their process or how they actually made this successful thing. And I was at a very early stage in my entrepreneurial journey. And I was talking to a guy at a conference and he's like, fuck it, just share the recipe. Tell them exactly how to do it. Tell them how to make the website, tell them where to go, because no matter what they do, it's never going to be the way that you do it. And you bring your special oomph, your special charm, your professionalism, your expertise that they don't have. And sometimes people need to realize that they need to learn that first before they see the value in you.
That is so true.
Yeah, I have to say that it paid off. I built a lot of my client relationships when I had the design firm that way, where I would, give gobs of advice. I taught workshops at the Chamber of Commerce. It's very much, this was back in 2007. So today we call it content marketing.
Right.
But back then, it doesn't seem that long ago, but back then it wasn't as common. It was still something you could sell. It was still like, well, this is the service I'm going to provide you. You're going to pay me my hourly rate so I can do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a way to build trust. Here are all my secrets. Go ahead. Give it a try.
Yeah.
And if it works out for you and you need advice and you're doing it better than me, you know what? That's fine. Competition, teamwork, it's a healthy entrepreneurial environment. Let's do it.
What I've found is I can tell people exactly what they need to do. And they're like, oh, like they just get a little overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't realize that you have a plan in your head. This happened to me this morning, actually, where we're working on customer interviews. And I had no idea that I had a full-fledged plan with an agenda attached to it in my head. But, one of my manager friends was like, well, why can't we do this next week? I know you're out of the office. And I'm like, here's why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh my gosh.
These are all the steps that we need to take in order to get to this point, because there's a lot of work to get to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you would like to take it and run with it, by all means, rock and roll. But if you want to do this right, there's a way to do it.
I think that's really true with music too, because I can look and listen and watch videos of how to play like so-and-so and know absolutely every trick in the book. And I'm never going to sound like Eddie Van Halen or Eric Clapton or whoever it is.
That's a really interesting point. And that goes to sort of what our educational plan is for Spire today. And I was having this conversation with one of our admins here who's going to help me out with some of the content, because we were talking about how aspirational people, right? Like whoever, Van Halen using Spire may show how easy it is to record something, which is awesome. But you're not going to be soloing like Van Halen.
No.
So you might be that virtuoso that's in the closet and you haven't gotten famous yet. And if you are, I'm sorry, go out there and play. But I'm always trying to ride that fine line, or perhaps a blurry line, of inspiring people to show that anybody can use it, anybody can do it, at the same time that it's more about the process of songwriting and less about becoming that virtuoso celebrity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally get that. Because I think that the magic's in the process.
Definitely. And it's different for everybody too, which is what some of the coolest stories are as I've been working on this brand. We have an artist interview coming up with Jonathan Brooke.
Oh, nice.
Who is phenomenal. And she's been working on some Broadway projects. So
cool.
Her story about how she's been using Spire is completely dedicated to writing down ideas of how one protagonist comes on stage, sings their line, and then the supporting actor comes on stage and sings a counterpoint line, and how to propose those ideas to the playwrights. She's been using Spire to just make those, plays piano, sings a bunch of different lines into Spire, and then emails it directly to the playwright. Boom. 4 demos done in a couple of hours, like ready to roll. But it's such an interesting process to hear from a musical theater standpoint. I'm like, I never thought about that. Like, how did Gershwin do it?
Right. Oh my God.
I don't know. I've never thought about that before.
That's really cool.
And then we have this other artist who I'm super excited about, who's up in British Columbia. They're a cinematic electronica group, which is not the genre we thought would resonate most with Spire, because Spire is very much for, acoustic instruments, voice, things that make noise that are not in the box or come from a computer.
Exactly.
And these guys make serious electronica music, but they use it as a songwriting tool, and they play piano and acoustic guitar, and they write all of their hooks and melodies and different things into Spire. And then once they feel good about it, then they bring it into the studio, they write their full-fledged song, and they go out and they play a gig. And so we're going to go up to Kelowna and film just that, like a day in the life of this group called Colors with a Z, doing that songwriting process and seeing what their space is like, and hearing like, all right, how do you take it from Spire into whatever program you use? Do you use Ableton? Like, tell us that journey of moving from your phone to the studio and then actually taking it out to the world.
I love that, because I think that's even going to make people that watch those videos just totally open up another world to them.
That's what I hope. And it's, they're an up and coming group. They're not some crazy celebrity. And I was really torn with that idea of like, well, we could get an artist, we could get a really famous artist, but I really want to hear those organic stories of where people fall in love with it and it really works for them and it's in the creative zone, and it adds something to their creative process.
Right. Well, and I think it resonates. Like, I know with me personally, it would resonate more to see somebody that's in the same boat as me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, we're all doing this, and this is how they're doing it, and that's cool.
Right, right. I don't know. I wonder, what the purchase psychology, I suppose, is between getting somebody like a Van Halen or a Stevie Wonder versus seeing that up and comer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do you really feel like it resonates more with you, or do you just want it more? I don't know. I'm always curious about those things.
Well, I guess because I think, Van Halen or somebody like that is going to have access to all this crazy stuff. I mean,
Exactly.
obviously they've got the money. But what I love about Spire, I don't even think we mentioned this, is that it's free,
Yes.
which is the added bonus.
Yes, indeed.
And since I know a lot of musicians on limited budgets, it's like, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
There's been some really great stories too of there was one hip hop artist who made his entire album in an Apple store on GarageBand.
Really?
Yes. And they're out there. You could make your entire demo, your next EP. You could make a full-fledged album. If think of all of the older artists. Think of the days the Beatles only had 4 tracks to work with.
Yeah.
It can be done. And also, if you have good mic placement, you can just record the band playing live and then add in your doubles and your harmonies where you need to later. So there's a lot of different ways to work with it. So that's a large part of that educational set of content that we're working on, is putting together some really cool videos to show how you can use it, but also hopefully inspiring people to say, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Let me bring that to practice. Let me try that next time.
Well, and I think that too, when you have to work in certain parameters, like, okay, you've got 4 tracks, get creative, figure it out.
That is one of my, that's basically the number one piece of advice I give to every direct report or person that has a struggle with too many choices, or they're like, well, what do I do? Limitations breed creativity.
Absolutely.
That's my mantra for everything, because it's true. The moment you have walls in a box, you make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when true problem solving happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you just see it over and over again. It's kind of how it has to be. All right. Now I want to know, what is your brassiest moment? That time when you've had some crazy idea, like maybe jumping in the pool and not knowing the temperature, and maybe your inner circle was like, Stacey, you might want to rethink that.
Let's see. So back when I owned the graphic and web design firm, my mom got us a subscription to Cigar Aficionado. And I'm flipping through Cigar Aficionado, and I love smoking cigars, for the record. And all I see is brown ad, black ad, dark ad, brown ad, split ad, humidor ad, dark ad, white ad, bright. Well, there's a lighter ad. What is this? Nub Cigar was this, like, literally the rock and roll cigar brand, new on the scene, who stuck out like a sore thumb in the best way. And that was the type of clientele we were going after. So I sent in an email from their general contact form and was like, hey, I'm a musician. I love the branding. I love the placement. This was an awesome strategy. It stuck out. It called to me, which means you're talking to the right demographic. If you ever want to work together, let me know. And 2 weeks later, I get a phone call while I'm on vacation with my parents from Sam Messier, the head guy, who was like, got your email. We're working on a rock and roll tour across the country. Would you be interested in helping us out with all the design materials for that? I said, hell yes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So the further part, and what makes this absolutely brassy and insane, is that not only did we make VIP passes and design all kinds of web presency things and swag and all of that other stuff, we were the swag packing people. We strung like truck tie down straps across our entire office and would spend afternoons. Again, welcome to folding napkins. You need a break, you go pack some bags.
I love it.
And people were looking at me like, you guys are getting paid to do what? I was like, first of all, you said the P word, which means it's not that crazy.
Right. I love it.
So, everything from like nips of Gentleman Jack to baseball hat and guitar picks and VIP passes and limited edition cigars. Oh my God. Everything went into those bags and we designed every single piece. It was awesome.
Those bags sound magical.
They felt like it. They felt like it.
I bet they did. So what did you learn from all that?
Being scrappy and agreeing to take on what others would think is below them was entirely worth it. We figured out a way to get paid for the time that it took to pack them all because it was just too many moving parts to hire someone to outsource.
Mm-hmm.
But it also gave us an opportunity to create this brand experience that we instilled in ourselves. So that business relationship from brand to agency and back, but then also just, you get pumped up when you are the advocates, when you're a part of it from the ground up. So just like my day job today as the creative strategist, I still love being that mix of frontline to high level. Those are my happiest days, as challenging as they are. And the weeks go by where I have great days and I have, oh man, I wish I had more time to work on that thing.
Yeah.
But I really love that because I feel like I understand the breadth of what it means to be a part of that thing, that product, that passionate moment that other people are getting excited about.
Right. That's a good gig.
I would agree.
Yeah. That's
my boss asks me all the time. He's like, "How long can you keep this up?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I like it for now."
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll need extra staff very soon, but I'm not sure when yet.
I love it. What would you say is the hardest life lesson you've learned so far?
Doing business with friends is probably the riskiest thing you can do.
Yeah.
And you don't know it, and you don't know how to set expectations until you go through it. And I lost some friendships by doing business with friends, and then I also gained some valuable friends at the same time. I think you understand what matters to you, what breaks you, and what makes you value quality of life choices as well as business choices.
Definitely. Now we're getting to the really fun stuff. What's the most mind-blowing experience that you've had so far in your career?
It sounds really simple, but I had an opportunity to speak at UX Boston inside Google's new facility.
Oh,
I
wow.
wasn't hired by Google, but I had the big Google behind me, and we were in this fancy place where lots of people were, and it was one of the first times I brought my pre-mortem talk to the public eye. And I love public speaking. I'm an animated person. If we were on video right now, I'm sure the camera would be shaking because my hands are everywhere. But that was absolutely mind-blowing and like one of those rock star moments where people came up to me afterwards and thanked me and felt inspired and really took to heart what I was trying to say about what to do with your ideas and that don't just trash them and make sure that you have a bookshelf to store those ideas on because you never know when you're going to need, just a pick from the flowers, what to put together. Every idea is almost like a bouquet. It all stems from other places. But the real kicker for me was I had 3 people tell me and ask me too, do you do stand-up comedy? Oh
really?
My God, Jen, I lost my mind because I don't know about you, but to me, stand-up comedy is the hardest job on the face of the planet.
Oh, there's no way I could ever do that. Yeah.
How? Okay, so I made you laugh. I made you remember important things that you need to bring back to your day job, and hopefully it sprinkles into your everyday life. But if you thought that I was compelling enough to be a comedian, whoa.
That's fantastic.
That was a good day. That
was
a good day.
So is there video of this talk on YouTube anywhere that I can link to in the show notes?
There is not, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
They did not record video as far as I know. However, I am teaching a workshop, very similar to that talk. I'm funneling in everything I do on the software side. So lean UX, pre-mortems, agile methodology, minimum viable products, all of these things. And I'm teaching a group of people in New Haven, Connecticut, how to build an MVP in one night. And that's getting videotaped. So as soon as that's up, I'll let you know.
Yeah, that'll be great because I will totally put that in the show notes. I have no idea what you just said, but it sounds entertaining. And if you can make me laugh with it, I'm down.
If I can make you laugh and be entertained by very boring, dry methodologies and frameworks, I've done my job right.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's yeah, I don't even know how you would make that fun, but that's not my world. And I don't know. People probably wonder how I make music fun. I don't know.
It's true, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I could never do that because that just looks really hard and you have to practice all the time. Like, well,
yeah.
There's
it's not really practice to me.
No.
It's like peace of mind.
Yeah. The day that it's not work, then it's not really work at all.
Right. So what have you found to be most critical to your success? Has it been just your skill set, your network that you've built, or your attitude and your ability to adapt?
I think it's probably a mix of my adaptability and network. I pride myself on connecting with people as much as humanly possible because you never know when those relationships will bear fruit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a bind, or even when you've met somebody that could be useful in someone else's business, or, oh, I know Jen. Jen runs this amazing podcast. She would love to talk to you because you've got a crazy life story. Whatever it is, those connections are huge. But at the same time, my adaptability and willing to be like clay and water and fit into different places and try on different hats and just go for the gold no matter what, I feel like has gotten me just as far, if not farther.
That makes a lot of sense. What would you say is your life's mission? And do you feel like you're living it?
I think my life's mission is to inspire people at the end of the day. And I think I am living it. Yeah, a combination between the day job that I've got now, teaching those workshops. I've been writing a bunch and letting that out to the public eye a lot more because that's what I really love to do, and that's when, that give and take, that reciprocity, that full circle feeling of sharing a story or giving a little chunk of advice and hearing that others took it in. It could have been a year, could have been 10 years later, and reached out to you and said, hey, remember that time that we saw that thing or you said that thing? I actually applied it and it worked.
Cool. Well, I have to say, I did read your blog and the post about your mom and Martha Stewart and the camel toe. I thought I was going to fall off my chair.
I'm so glad you read that post.
Like, how do you can't not read that post?
I told her when I was in high school that I would have a stand-up comedy career because they would just be built around stories from her. That was long before I spoke at UX Boston. She is one hell of a lady.
She sounds like it.
She has no qualms about not having a filter and just telling you exactly what she sees and exactly what she's thinking.
There's going to be a link to your blog in the show notes because that's too good not to share.
Please click on the link at the top that says Stacey's mom.
Yes.
Stacey's mom has it going on.
Yeah, truly. She really does. Now, there's also going to be a Spotify companion playlist to go along with your episode. So what music and artists have inspired you and who are you listening to lately?
Okay. Inspirational bucket. Lots of trip hop artists, actually. So people like Portishead, Tricky. Oh God, who am I missing here? Even more on the R&B end, like early D'Angelo. Lots of that down-tempo, chill lounge stuff was always what I was really drawn to. A combination of jazz and hip-hop was really where my love was. And then, depending on what band I was in, you listen to things that fuel your fire and that, set your sails to chart off into different seas. So when I got back into the jazz side of things, I put an ad up on Craigslist that said, "Who wants to start a Nora Jones cover band?"
Oh, that's awesome.
Because that was just how it framed it. And, that's very much what my vocal tone is like. So I loved her in art school and, oh my God, all kinds of just love me some Nora Jones and that
yeah.
very laid back jazz voice. Madeline Peru.
Oh my God, I love her.
Melody Gardot. God bless that woman.
Uh-huh.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I would say I grew up with classic rock. Lots of Tom Petty, lots of Eagles, Bad Company, Billy Joel. Yeah, those were regularly rotating in my 6 CD changer in the den growing up.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I think we could take a road trip together and be okay.
We go record shopping, my husband and I, and I'm like, listen, if we ever come across not a reissue, but the original Foreigner 10, we need to get it.
You know what? I will keep my eye out for that.
Awesome. Listening now, I have fallen in love with the new Disclosure album.
I haven't heard that.
Just rock my socks off left and right. And still, Disclosure is very much like the upside of down-tempo world. I had done a couple of EDM tracks a few years ago, and I still stay in touch with the boys of ArcLight. And that style, that like really cool, hip dance music, love listening to it and writing for it. So much fun. And still all the down-tempo stuff. On Spotify itself, if you listen to the chill party or the chill step or the chill out lounge playlist, like that's basically what's playing all the time.
All right. So what's revving your creative engines now?
In terms of projects or music or all the above?
All of the above.
Limitations breed creativity, right? So
right.
Let's full circle this.
Okay.
I live in a 600 square foot apartment, and I share it with my also musician husband, who is a scratch turntablist who has lots of gear.
Oh, yeah.
I am limited on space. What do? I'm an artist and a musician, and I need to create. And so writing has become my biggest creative engine lately because it's so portable. I can sit on the couch. I can go down to the library. I can work at a desk. I can type at the table in my itty bitty kitchen. So, and it's one of those things where if you asked me if I doodled a lot when I was a kid, because I graduated from art school, I didn't go to music school.
Okay.
I actually have a degree in painting.
Oh, wow.
And I was never a doodler. I was always writing down lyrics or singable phrases or just the way that words look or sound. So typography and graphic design was always what I was drawn to. So it like dawned on me this summer when I took on the task of writing about our wedding every week was basically what I did. I wanted to write a post every week just to get in the habit of feeling like I needed to write, like from a Pavlovian sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just huge. It's just, it's been practice, right? But it doesn't feel like practice. It doesn't feel like work.
Right.
But it's portable creativity. And it really, even though it's only words on the page, there's so much to that outlet that you provide visuals through word. So I don't know. That's really been the crux of my creative engines lately.
I love it. Well, and then, okay, so that just led me to another somewhat related question, I guess. But so top 3 album covers for you. Like, what is it about those designs? What's drawn you to those?
Top 3 album covers. That is a great question. Oh God, I don't know. I have no idea what the name of the album is, but the Boston album cover with the spaceship.
Yeah.
I think I bought that from Goodwill probably 7 times in the last 30 years because it's just the coolest looking cover on the face of the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Also Rolling Stones with the zipper.
Yep.
You actually unzip it. Unbelievable. I'm trying to think of what is one. Actually, I have this record framed in my house today. Portishead, the self-titled one, where she's standing like a doll on top of that cylindrical little piece of stage. And it's all in black and white, super simple, sort of has a stoic tone to it, but it totally matches the music that they make.
Nice. All right. And we're going to wrap it up here. So what is the best way for folks to connect with you and stay up to date on your latest projects?
All right. So the blog, which I know you're going to put in the show notes, is staceysdiylife.com. And my name is one of those pain in the ass names that's spelled 6 different ways. So my name is spelled Stacey, and that's STACEYSDIYlife.com. And then that's my handle on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook. I have a Stacey's DIY page as well. And then also there is a link, I believe, from the blog. I have a Tumblr page where you can see some of my past design work, just stacydyer.tumblr.com.
Fabulous. I will have the links to all those in the show notes. And thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. This was great fun, and I hope your listeners got something out of it.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
And certainly, by all means, go and download that free Spire Recorder app as soon as you can. Get creating.
And I will put a link to that, too.
Awesome.
That's all, folks. You can check out the show notes at brassybroad.com. The conversation continues over at the Brassy Broadcast page on Facebook or on Twitter and Instagram at BrassyBroadGen. And don't forget to check out the playlist for this episode on Spotify. You can find me over there at BrassyBroadGen. One last thing. If you got a little nugget of value or just enjoyed the conversation, please leave a rating and review over at iTunes. Rumor has it that those ratings and reviews help more people discover the show. Or even better, share it with a friend that you think would dig it. Now be brazen, be bold, and get out in the world and do some good.